Going to call to order the December 16th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Roll call, please.
Castro,
Here.
Kroll, Katz, Neer,
Here.
Ruling, Wright,
Here.
and Chair Atherton.
Here. Can I get an approval of the agenda? Are there any additions or deletions first? None? Okay.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Moved by Mr. Wright,
Second.
second by Mr. Castro. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Citizen comments, we will open the floor to anyone who would like to speak on anything that is not on the agenda this evening. So if you have any comments that you would like to make, we would open the floor to you. Okay, there being none, we will go on to the approval of the minutes from the October 28th, 2015 meeting. Are there any questions, comments, corrections to the minutes? If none, then I will take a motion to approve.
So move.
So moved by Mr. Castro,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Wright. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We do not have any old business, so we'll move immediately into new business. Tonight, the first item is a request by Herbert Buer for a variance from the building setback requirement on property zoned SFR1, single-family residential, located at 212 Fairview Drive in DeKalb. I will open the public hearing to begin and turn it to Derek for comments.
Thank you, Chair. Herbert Buer, prior to this meeting, had reached out to staff after we published and posted, sent out the neighboring property notification letters and indicated that something had come up, and he asked yourselves in this body to continue this item to the first meeting of 2016, which I think is January 13th, if I remember right. So we concur with his request, and it'll be brought back, assuming you continue the public hearing to that night specifically, and have a presentation for you at that time.
Okay. So with that being said, we would like to immediately continue the public hearing if you wish, and I will take a motion on that.
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Neer,
Second.
second by Mr. Castro. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. And that public hearing will be continued to January 13th. I open the next public hearing with a request by KV & Sons LLC for a special use permit on .34 acres of property for Dunkin' Donuts with a drive-through located at 460 East Lincoln Highway to be included as part of a multi-tenant strip center, which is zoned CBD Central Business District. At the moment, I will open the public hearing and turn to Derek for comments.
Thank you, Chair. The property located in our central business district is located approximately 1 block to the north and east of us here. Currently, it's a vacant lot. Previously, it was known as the Sawyer Auto Implement, located at the hard corner of 5th Street and Lincoln Highway. Deepak Patel with KV & Sons LLC is here tonight to present to you with his representation the special use permit request with the drive-through for Dunkin' Donuts. In your staff backup and background information, you have a staff report prepared on a site plan that was submitted very recently at the time of publication for this agenda packet, but you also have the previous concept plan in there as well that shows kind of the evolution of how this site plan has morphed over time. We're probably on our 4th, maybe 5th site plan currently. And I think what you have before you this evening that shows a patio at that hard corner is the intended site plan to move forward with. The challenge with that site plan is, since it was submitted to staff on Friday, is it hasn't gone through our full site plan review. It hasn't gone to all the appropriate bodies and parties to do a review. So what I would ask the Planning and Zoning Commission tonight is to hear the testimony, hear the presentation, and we can make a determination whether or not it makes sense to continue this item for another 30 days, allowing for additional review, plan review to occur. But we have evolved with a much more efficient plan that was shown that I think would be acceptable to the users of the drive-through. That was one of the consternations of why the plan has changed a few times, as the long-term tenants, the Dunkin' Donuts, and those identified in the background have asked for these changes to occur. So it wasn't on a whim that I guess that it was brought forth. So those are my introductory comments at this point in time, and turn it back to you.
Okay. So we will begin with Mr. Patel. If you have a presentation that you'd like to give, or any opening comments that you'd like to begin with, or anyone representing the project, you can come to the podium, state your name, your address.
Thank you. I'm Jim Bibby with Rempe Sharp and Associates Engineers in Geneva. We've worked closely with staff and notably Derek over the last several months on a number of issues on this site. Just if I could take a couple of minutes of the Plan Commission's time just to walk through these. A challenging and important site, obviously, in downtown redevelopment for the city of DeKalb. Going around the perimeter of the site, it was pointed out early by staff that there were issues with circulation relative to the narrowness of the alley that's there coming off of Fifth Street. So the plan before you will actually, and several of these aspects have a little regional neighborhood benefit to some of the adjoining properties also. The alley will be widened, that pavement will be made 5 feet wider, even though the actual right-of-way, if you will, for that alley is 16 feet. The pavement that's in place, because of the curb placement on the south side of it, is only 12 feet wide. It really only allows for one-way traffic. With the 5-foot pavement widening that will be affecting on the north edge of that alley, that will be then safe for two-way traffic. That is pretty typical in an urban setting for an alley width to be 17 feet, and that would allow 2 8.5-foot lanes for cars to pass each other and go in each direction. As we enter the site, it was important to staff that we create a drive-through that would allow for a bailout lane. So the width that was worked through there, and this was not in the first or even the second draft, but as Derek mentioned, I think we're now on the 4th draft of this plan, and addressing both the tenants' comments and also DeKalb staff comments. But that's a 16-foot wide drive-through. So that would be the stacking for the order window as well as the bailout lane for anyone that just wanted to drive through or for emergency purposes. That 16-foot width, I believe, met with staff requests and has been then implemented into that design. On Fifth Street, you'll see there's some diagonal parking that's been added. That's just, again, for regional benefit, just appeared that in the look at the 150-foot radius all around the hard corner here, that there was a very slight shortage in parking, and so we've gone back in and added that in. As Derek mentioned, there's a 1,500 square foot shared open patio on that corner. We feel that has positive benefits not only for these tenants, but aesthetically and also even for traffic safety, for visual around the corner. Just an all-around positive for the plan and for the downtown. At that point, I think we'd like to just open it up for questions and comments, but we'd like to think that we're well along in the process of working through the staff review, but as Derek Highland mentioned, we are not 100% completed, which we realize. So we would like to ask for the Plan Commission's consideration relative to continuing us for another 30 days, and we feel comfortable we'll be closing out those last issues in that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we ask any questions, since we do have the public hearing open, I would like to open it up to anyone who would have any questions or comments about this particular item. You're welcome to come up to the podium, state your name and your address, please.
I'm Trixie O'Flaherty, and I own Gordon Hardware at 514 East Lincoln Highway. I'm the direct neighbor to the east of this development. I like the drawings that I saw provided on the link. My only concerns are, since McDonald's had their redevelopment a year and a half ago or two, the turn lane that McDonald's patrons use to go into McDonald's and the 5th Street turn lane going west, they're the same lane. And I would say on a daily basis at the hardware store, we see a number of near miss accidents, if not actual fender benders. My only concern is because now we're going to increase the 5th Street traffic with this new drive-through that will exacerbate the traffic flow problem on Lincoln Highway. I don't know if there's a good solution to it. I just wanted to bring that up. This looks to be a better drive-through lane, but that's just something that we've seen grow since McDonald's has changed their the flow of traffic for entrances, and since this 5th Street will now be seeing increased traffic. That was my concern about that. The other thing is for the parking that would be added, is that going to be public or private, owned by those tenants? Public? And then you guys will want to make sure that there's some kind of posting done, though, so Stagecoach doesn't absorb all those parking spots when they have a show, because that's a regular problem that we in my block, the businesses in my block have when there is a Stagecoach performance, that even though it is posted that I believe it's 5 spaces on Girard Street right behind the hardware store and the bar and the bike shop are supposed to be left for bike, hardware, and bar patrons, it rarely actually happens, and we just want to make sure that since these will be new spots, that it's dealt with on the front end, rather than trying to get people to create new habits after the fact. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Sharp. I'm with Sharp Architects, and I'm a tenant in 421 Grove Street, which is the building directly to the applicant south. And I just wanted to say, one, thank you for tackling this site. It is not an easy site with the railroad, the state highway, McDonald's entrance, everything else happening over there. That's a tough one. We're looking forward to you coming in. Hopefully I'm a little concerned about the traffic through the alley. Is it going to be a problem for some of the tenants down the road, the Lovels and Archer? But today would be the day for them to come in and say something. So we're looking forward to having you. So I'll be walking over frequently.
Any other comments from the public?
Steve Capitan, 1228 Sycamore Road. The traffic problem that was mentioned coming out of 5th Street and the entrance to McDonald's, I agree is a very difficult location for traffic as it is right now. One of the problems is the people turning left from, headed east on Lincoln Highway, turning left into McDonald's. And that gums up the traffic flow, and it really, there's a lot of, as the woman was saying about near misses where you have a lot of hesitant, you don't know, people don't know who's moving into which lane where from the different directions coming in and out of McDonald's, Fifth Street, and then both directions on Lincoln Highway. And then I apologize for not having looked at the site plan online, but where is the building located in this proposal?
It'd be the hard corner of Fifth and Lincoln with a setback of about 20, sorry, I can't read that, 15 feet, 20 feet off of Lincoln Highway for a patio.
I see. Okay, reason I was asking was I was hoping that it wouldn't push too much up onto the corner, because for two reasons, the traffic and the visibility for Stagecoach. The more that is open, the better campus feel that has. So the patio does help a little bit from what the building was there before. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak? Okay. Commissioners, questions, comments, suggestions?
Yeah, the first, you talked about a bailout lane going around. That is a lane that is wide enough for a car to go around cars in the drive-through. Is that correct? Yes. The drive-through, as I understand it, will be facing Fifth Street. Is that right? Yes. So how far those parking spaces that we see on the side? How many?
Sure, I'm sorry. Sir, could you come up to the podium?
Okay.
Thanks, sorry, Jerry.
I'm really trying to interpret what I'm looking at. So the parking spaces on the side are facing the drive-through lanes then, right? Is that right?
The parking spaces
There's the ones on
are from
Fifth.
the alley. Those are public diagonal spaces that come off of the alley and back onto the alley when they leave.
So there are no
There are
diagonal
no,
parking spaces on Fifth Street?
there are also 3 plus a handicap, 4 parking stalls added on Fifth Street.
Okay,
There are none that are attached to the drive-through.
right. They're facing the drive-through? No?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Do we anticipate most of the traffic coming from Fifth Street then, or all of the traffic
All the traffic from
coming from
Fifth Street.
Fifth Street?
And the entrances would be off of Fifth or off of the alley, correct? Or is the alley access only for the drive-through? So this access off of the alley, is that an access or is it not?
Yes.
Okay. Is that only going to be for the drive-through? Since there really isn't any, like, there wouldn't really be any reason for people to go through there since there's no parking off of there, correct?
Well, there would be periodic deliveries.
Right, like for your
FedEx,
trucks
et
and
cetera.
stuff, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
okay.
The patio is shared, you said, right?
Yes.
Shared with the other vendors that will take up the other spots?
Yes.
Okay. And the entrance to Dunkin' Donuts is off the patio? Is it off the patio?
They have a main entrance off the patio and one side entrance off of the interior sidewalk, their southwest corner.
Oh, okay. Okay. Did you, was there any discussion about the traffic flow there when, you know, people talk about the McDonald's and the turn lane? Was there any consideration for those things? Or?
There was. Actually, our initial preferred plan had our entrance closer to Lincoln Way, Route 38, and that was pulled back to a larger separation to the south because of traffic safety issues. So we feel that as much as is allowable with the geometrics of the site, that we've addressed them, to not compound that issue.
Okay. Those are my questions.
So it has been brought up by more than one citizen, this problem of traffic flow from Lincoln Highway into McDonald's, into Fifth Street, and so on and so forth. I was wondering whether staff has any studies, just to flesh this out a little bit more, on the traffic flow patterns and potential problems, particularly after the new McDonald's was finished. I just want to make sure that we have something more concrete that we can go off.
So specifically to this project, no, we did not do a regional analysis except for how this drive-through exits onto Fifth Street. And Mr. Bibby was absolutely correct. We encourage that this drive-through be pulled back as far from Fifth Street as possible and conceivable. Regarding the vehicle conflicts with the suicide lane on Lincoln Highway, I'm not aware of any studies that have been done, either by the city or by IDOT to that end. Certainly I can look into it and have an answer for you at the next meeting if you should continue this item.
Thanks.
Is the parking on Fifth Street, that, which is away, you know, not the alley, but is that movement on that pulling in and backing up, is that gonna create any additional traffic problems on Fifth Street? Because that's a whole new movement there.
Well, as I mentioned, my office is in downtown Geneva, and we have diagonal parking right on Route 38 all through the downtown, and it's just something you get used to. It's, in this case, you can see that the handicap is the space that's right up close to the entrance
Right.
and also close to the corner. So the other cars, yeah, you would have to back out with caution, but that, again, that's what led to the reasoning to put the patio where it is, so the sight lines are clear, that the car making the right from Lincoln Way onto Fifth could see the backing out car 50, 60 feet ahead of time, and again, they're making a right-hand turn, you know, it would seem to be a relatively safe situation.
Derek, is the total number of, I'm assuming that the additional parking, the diagonals are to take care of in-store dining? That's what's required based on the square footage and the seating inside?
Sure, I think the parking that's being proposed, I guess I would describe it as a bonus.
Okay.
Within the central business district, our parking requirements do not apply.
Okay.
There are two geographic boundaries in the central business district that says on one certain geographic area that new uses and users are not required to provide any type of parking. I think the intent behind that is there is enough perceived surface parking provided by the city that parking's sufficient, and therefore not required for any future developments. And the other part of the city says whatever existed there previous to the redevelopment can't be reduced, but additional new is not required. In either case, though, this is something that's been provided by the tenant, not to meet parking requirements, but just to meet what they believe is their customer demand.
Okay. So, those 4 spaces actually aren't required then, you're saying? Okay.
No.
I will have to echo Deb's concern about those spaces because, as we know, we have a lot of trains that go through town, and that tends to be kind of a sneak way around the tracks. And I have actually seen people turn onto there very quickly and not. It's going to take some learning, I agree. But I will commend you for putting the patio where you're putting it because of that visual issue. I know there have been times that I've gone to pull out onto Lincoln Highway going left off of Fifth Street, and it's difficult because of the buildings around there. And so I am happy that those buildings are there, but I'm glad that you did that to help with that aestheticness and being able to see a little bit better to get in and out of there. There's a lot of traffic that does flow through there. Does the city have any concerns, and if I miss this in the backup, I apologize, about the landscaping? It does not appear that there's a whole lot around the building.
Well, we
Is
anticipate
that part of
a-
the plan we're waiting to see?
Yeah,
Okay.
we anticipate a revised landscaping plan forthcoming. In talking with the applicant tonight, he intimated that beyond what you see in the backup, there might be additional planters shown or different areas dedicated for landscaping. If I can just back up 2 minutes here and talk about the parking that's
Yeah.
shown off of Fifth Street.
Yeah.
That hard, solid line that goes around, I believe that's the current curb. So what is being shown is parking that would be today
Into
off the street.
Okay.
It would be onto both public and private land. So much like McDonald's, we got creative to try to make something happen with some public rights of way. And so allowing for the parking to occur and encroach into the city right of way, they are then shifting the sidewalk over to accommodate and allow for ADA accessibility. But those parking stalls, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, aren't on Fifth Street. They are actually off the street.
Gotcha. You'd still have to back onto Fifth to get out.
Agreed.
But
I
yeah.
agree.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to tell you, when I saw this come through, I was very excited. We need more on this side of the city. And it will help, I think, to attract some, hopefully some more businesses in that area and people, and the ability for the residents in that area to also enjoy and be able to walk to the area. And so thank you for bringing this forward to us.
One addition to Derek's comments, probably the prime issue that we haven't closed out with staff yet at this point in time, and you're correct, is landscaping. And the building envelope that you're seeing in front of you this evening is actually slightly larger than the building that we'll be going with on the site. And the building will shrink on the eastern elevation view of the building, and that is being done to create a landscaping strip right there on that east side.
Okay.
If in fact the parking stalls on Fifth were to be eliminated, if that was the wish of the city, the plan commission, et cetera, there would be additional landscaping and parkway trees that would be added into that location. But even without that, even if the parking stays as it is, there will be significant landscaping added to the eastern elevation of this building facing Fifth Street.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Okay. Do the commissioners have any more questions?
Yes. Does, this is the drive-through window in the back here. It's everywhere. Which, I'm trying to understand the flow of where would it come in and where would it go out, right? Is that?
That's the drive-through window. So here's the order,
Oh,
here's the stack.
we're coming this way?
Yes, everything comes this is just the next,
Is this
That's the
this the alley?
this is the widened portion of the alley.
Okay. That is much better for me. Thank you.
That's where they order. I had that same question. I was trying to find that myself. Okay. Any other questions?
Just one more.
Yep, go ahead.
And this is for, I guess for really both of you. One of the comments on your backup is that revised building facade in accordance with the revised plan is required. Is this then what we had in our packet? Is that gonna be changed?
That's right.
Oh, okay, so that has to be changed yet?
Mhm.
Okay.
If you have any feedback to provide to them, though, I mean, that's certainly something that they would be interested to hear tonight.
Well, what changes, in order to make it comply, what changes are gonna be required from this?
So what you would see on the actual, on the east side is you would see the patio.
Uh-huh.
You would probably see the elements of however they're going to dress up the patio.
Oh, I see, okay.
On the far west side, prior to the meeting, there's been some preliminary comments that have come back that indicate that that's a very expansive wall, I guess on the west side.
Uh-huh.
That's what I said.
That's on the left, this one, down the
Um,
bottom? Is that what you're saying?
That would be the east side.
Yeah, okay.
To break up the long expansive wall with some more vertical columns like they have around the doors. So those were just some ideas to try to
Mhm.
make it more consistent from all four sides, since it'll
Mhm.
be visible from that standard and perspective. Those are just some ideas that have been out there, but certainly would love to hear any additional comments that can be provided to.
That
the
is a
applicant.
really big wall to be totally blank, you know? I mean, the front, I mean, that's, you know, to me anyway, that looks, you know, actually pretty nice and blend in well. What kind of signage are we looking at for this?
No siding, it's all brick and block.
I'm sorry?
No siding, only brick and block.
Signage.
Okay, the signage,
Yes, not on side, right now only on front.
okay. And is it gonna be anything lit, or is it gonna be,
LED,
so I think we wanna see a picture of that, how the signage is incorporated into the building.
Yeah.
Does this Dunkin' Donuts have any relationship to the other Dunkin' Donuts on Lincoln Highway?
Still they are working on it, so they didn't finalize yet, but they are working on it. It's the same guy.
Same. And are there any leads on other vendors that may come in, or?
Yes, Subway and Marco's Pizzas are there.
Okay.
Madam Chair, just reminder anyone that's going to speak, please speak to the mic.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? So, what are your thoughts for, actually, I need to close the public hearing, sorry. So we're
Wait.
gonna close that.
No.
No? Did I just do
Before you
this
do
out of-
so, do
sorry.
you want to? So you have two options. You can either you can
Oh,
continue
right,
the
if we
public
wanna
hearing,
continue
or
it,
you
I'm
can
sorry.
close it. So it's entirely up to,
So I need the commissioners to tell me what they would like to do. What your thoughts are. We can continue this to the next meeting, where we would have the ability to see the site plans that have been put forth just recently, the updated site plans. Or if you're comfortable, we could go ahead and make a decision tonight.
Well,
I
actually.
would like to see the site plans.
Yeah, I would too. I'd like to make a motion to continue it to the next, January 13th meeting.
how about 27th,
27th, fine.
allowing staff time to do the review as well?
Fine.
That would be appreciated.
So a motion's been made by Ms. Neer to continue the meeting to January 27th.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wright. Do we have to do a roll call for this, or can we just do vote, voice vote?
You can voice vote.
Okay. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. So we are continuing this meeting until January 27th. Okay, next up. Next up is on our agenda is a consideration, which is a work session regarding the DeKalb Development Company LLC on a concept plan for redevelopment of 4.48 acres of property along Lincoln Highway that would include a hotel and apartments. And I will turn it to Derek to start us off.
Thank you, Chair Atherton. As you indicated, tonight you have DeKalb Development Company LLC with representation by David Patzelt here to present for you as a work session, the concept for the property that's bound by Pearl Street on the west, Lincoln Highway on the north, I guess what I would call the NB&T Bank property on the east and the railroad tracks on the south. 7 years ago, known as the NB&T Square property, since the bank is kind of constructed by now and has its own land holdings. This is the remainder of that parcel and that site. To this point in time, this has been a plan that has evolved over the years. Most recently and currently, I think it was announced at Monday night's council meeting that the remainder of the homes on this particular development will be coming down and raised on site, allowing for a clean developable piece of property. At the request of the developer, they brought forward this concept plan to the Planning and Zoning Commission that talks about a 5-story, 187 unit apartment building. And in addition to that, a 128 room, 4-story Spring Hill Suites. For your consideration tonight, the request before you is on truly 4 different items that the staff report attempts to highlight. First and foremost is the land use discussion. Additionally, density, parking requirements, and then with land use, the land use policy and compliance with plans. So I think from staff's perspective, it's a concept plan. The developer is looking for feedback and is here tonight to give a presentation to you, to hear your feedback on their proposed plan and specific to those issues. So I'll let them do their presentation and fill in any gaps where I need to.
So before we start, and I don't know if you can answer this, and maybe I just need to hold off until we get a little bit further. You said that the houses that are remaining there, I believe there's 2 still standing, if I'm 2 or 3. There's also a small little business. What?
The ice cream parlor?
Yeah, that used to be
That
the
is-
Subway.
To my understanding, that is not to be raised at this point in time.
Okay, so for those out in the public, just to kind of give you a little bit of what we do in nights like this, or what we tend to do. This is a workshop for us to gain some information and insight on the project that is hopefully coming forth or has come forth. There's a lot of things that can happen on that property and that may come up that want to happen on that property. So this is a time for us to gain some insight, ask some questions, so that the commission is educated well enough on this property. Also, so that the public kind of has an opportunity to be educated on this as well. Generally, we do not open this up as a public hearing because it's a work session. It's a time for us to gain information from the individuals that have come forth. So at this moment, we've got somebody here to do a presentation, correct?
That's right.
So if you'd like to state your name, your address, and then give us your presentation, and we'll go from there.
Sure thing. Byron, if you could put up the presentation for me. Good evening. My name is David Patzelt, P-A-T-Z-E-L-T, from the Shodine Group, representing the developer and the property owner. address is 77 North First Street, Geneva, Illinois, 60134. As Derek has mentioned to you tonight, really the ultimate question is what is the perception and the willingness and the interest of the Plan Commission to see something such as the photographs that you have in front of you in the lower part of the screen to be of the, as I would call it, or refer to it as the downtown of DeKalb tomorrow. The photographs at the top are existing structures that remain on the site today, and we'll talk a little bit about the near future of those structures. But as again, Derek gave you a brief. The property is located generally south of Lincoln Highway, north of the railroad tracks, and east of Pearl Street, and then well west of First Street and well west of the NB&T new bank that was recently constructed. On the actual site, there's approximately a dozen different structures. Those structures include the commercial building out along Route 38 that was a Subway restaurant at one point in time and is now an ice cream shop. It also includes the long rectangular garage that faces to the south, which faces out onto McGurr Street or the railroad track. At some point in time, all of those structures, including the ice cream shop and the long rectangular garage, would be removed for this project, and the project would integrate with the driveway that you see on this aerial that goes into the NB&T bank. The area between the red line, what would be the easterly red line, as I have drawn it on the plan, and the NB&T bank would be a remainder parcel that would be developed at some point in time by another property owner or another developer. That property is not owned and not controlled by us, but we have coordinated with that property owner, which is the NB&T bank, so that that property could be worked into both our plan as well as the bank as it sits there today. You may have heard or read in the newspaper recently that there's going to be several demolition projects going on over the next 60 days. To start with, in the last month, in the upper left-hand corner, there was a red home that is immediately west of the Marathon gas station that was razed. We will be commencing with demolition of the White House at the northwest corner of Ann Street and Pearl Street, as well as the former Public Works or former Water Works buildings located generally at the southwest corner of Ann and Pearl Street. Those are on the left-hand side of this slide. Those properties, although they'll be going under demolition, really are not subject of the discussion this evening. We're really talking about the property east of Pearl Street. And in that photo that you see there, you'll see that there's approximately a dozen structures that will be coming down over the next 60 days. As part of that, the site will be cleaned up through the winter. It will be graded back, and it will be temporarily seeded until a project is then agreed to between the developer and the city, and can be financed and then go into construction. The project that we're talking about this evening that we have in front of you is, the site plan is shown here generally in the center top of this slide. Along the left, generally the left edge of that building, or I'll call it a double donut-shaped building, that is Pearl Street. Along the top of the page, running from left to right, is Lincoln Highway, Route 38. And so on the, what I'll call the southeast corner of Pearl Street, on that hard corner, this is the second level of the building. And if you look to the lower left corner, you'll see a floor plan of the parking level that is identified as P1. That level, in essence, will be a subterranean parking lot with access to that parking deck off of Pearl Street. You may know, if you travel Pearl Street, that you're actually dropping in the grade, and I'll call it, you're diving underneath the viaduct to get underneath the railroad tracks. Then as you head north on Pearl Street, you're actually rising in the grade and would be coming up to the first level. So P1 is a basement parking, and we're using the advantage of Pearl Street to access that lower level parking. Immediately above that would be parking level P2, which is shown in the upper left corner. Looks very similar. However, the difference is that access to P2 would be from the east side. On the east side of the site where the long rectangular garage sits now, again, that grade is higher, getting you up as you come from Pearl Street and the viaduct and heading towards Walgreens on McGurr Street. You're actually rising in grade, and you rise up about 8 to 10 feet. So you could then, again, using the site as an advantage, we're using that to ramp you up to get you into the upper level of the parking deck. Those two parking decks are isolated, and they're not, you cannot go from P1 to P2 internally. If you were to go from P1 to P2, you would have to go out onto Pearl Street, up to Route 38, and back into the site to enter the entrance on the east side of the building. Above those two parking levels, the floors will be more or less identical, generally with a, if you call it a double donut or an 8, shaped like an 8, where the centers of the double donut or the centers of the 8 are actually open space. That's private open space for the residents of the residential units, and it's really enclosed space that is used for their entertainment and is private and is not intended for the outside public to be using that space. And as I proceed through the presentation, I'll share with you some of the amenities and photographs of similar buildings of what that space will contain. So that building, as I've described to you, consists of 187 residential units or 459 bedrooms. The parking deck has 294 parking spaces in it. There's 29 surface spaces immediately adjacent to the building, and 4 handicap spaces for a total of 327 total residential, what I'll call residential parking spaces. That's not including any of the parking spaces that would be associated or around the perimeter of the hotel. The hotel would be located immediately to the east of this building and immediately east of a common shared driveway and parking lot. That hotel would be a Marriott Spring Hill Suite product consisting of 128 rooms. For the hotel, we'll talk a little bit more about parking here in the future, in a couple future slides. The parking for a hotel by city ordinance is 1 per room plus 1 per employee. So generally 128 spaces plus an average of 5 employees would give you 133 spaces. There's currently shown on this plan 137 parking spaces. Again, I'll come back to these parking numbers because it's, as you perhaps have seen in the staff report, there's a little bit of a debate or discussion going on relative to parking. To give you an idea of what the residential building would look like, on the screen you'll see a photograph in the upper left-hand corner is a private fitness area that would be located within the building. Again, private meaning for the residents of this building only. The center photograph on the top gives you a picture of what could be located or would be located in the courtyard, the open outdoor courtyard, the private courtyard. Items such as an outdoor cooking center, fire pit, lounge area, and then the black rectangle that's hanging on the wall is a large outdoor TV screen for things such as game day events where the residents could enjoy the outside with perhaps game day football games, et cetera, on the TV screen. In the upper right corner, we'll be including items such as it's called a Google study room or a Google search or group study areas. There are workstations for those that want to work by themselves or collaborate with others. Includes things such as computers, printers, all free for the residents that reside within the building, and then located on the walls. It is dry erase walls as well as projection screens for practicing presentations of the students or any other business people that may be living within the facility. In the lower left corner, there's 2 photos of the gathering area and lounge area that is all common space immediately inside the outdoor space. And the second photo, again, from the lower left corner to your right, is a common area kitchen, so that there's cooking events for all of the residents of the building. Perhaps if there is an event, dietary programs going on or presentations by various companies would come in there and give presentations and do practice cookings for the residents of the building. The two photographs to the right give you some examples of what an inside of one of these apartments would look like. The photograph on the far right shows you that it's stainless steel appliances, granite countertops, and very higher-end furniture and fixtures. These units would be leased or rented furnished with these types of furnishings in them. The second building that is located on the site, as I had indicated to you, was the Marriott Spring Hill Suites. This is an example of the prototype of the Marriott product. It is a 4-story hotel. There is no underground parking associated with this. All of the parking is located outside. To give you an idea of what the interior of the Spring Hill Suites is, and to try to introduce you to the Spring Hill Suite product if you have not been to one, it is a newer product for Marriott. A little bit different than the photograph in the upper right gives you an idea of what the reception area is. It's a different philosophy of greeting the patron to the hotel versus, I'll call it the former bank teller style counter, where the client is on one side of the counter and perhaps the employee is on a fixed counter behind them. It's more of an open flow. And allows the employee to come out and actually greet the customer that is arriving at the hotel. The photograph in the left gives you the lounge area with the TV, and again, it allows for meeting space and or early morning coffee, working on your computer, or in the evening having a drink and gathering with others that are staying at the hotel. Some of the items that would be included inside the hotel include an indoor swimming pool, fitness center, the lounge area and gathering area, as I had indicated earlier, and this photograph gives you another perspective of that lounge area within the hotel. The hotel will consist of somewhat traditional rooms. Generally, 67% of them would be king bed rooms, and 33% of them would be double queen beds. It's a newer urban retro style hotel product for Marriott. So it does include the workstation within the room, as well as more urban retro contemporary design versus the maybe the more pastel colors of the past. Some of the other items and square footages, I believe this information was included in your packet, but I'll just point out that, again, it's about a 2,000 square foot lobby lounge. There is a business library within the building, a fitness center, and an indoor pool. The type of client that Marriott is and we're trying to attract with this is the frequent business traveler that's looking for a fresh and interesting and stylish hotel. It is also considered an upper moderate all suites hotel, so the price point is probably higher than what DeKalb would be accustomed to for a hotel product. Again, on the right-hand side here of the slide gives you some photographs of the inside of the room. The photograph in the upper right is inside of the room, and you can see how the workstation, maybe the old days where the desk was pushed up against the wall and you face the wall, you're now kind of on a peninsula out looking across your bed and out through the window if you're at the workstation. A photograph of the fitness center in the middle, and then the lower right gives you an idea of what the bathrooms would look like, with the majority of them would be stand-up showers versus your traditional tub and shower that you may find in many hotels locally. Question, again, gets raised to you is, how do we get there? And if this is something that DeKalb would like in their downtown. So after reviewing the city's staff report, we believe that there's really two main issues or two differences of opinion between the developer and city staff. And I don't typically like to come before a commissioner, city council, with being at different ends of a spectrum with city staff. Staff and the developer have met and tried to discuss and debate some of these issues, and to no avail, we haven't reached a conclusion on these the two issues. The issues were contained in the report that staff had presented to you. The first one is the staff is demanding some commercial on the first floor, and it's our opinion that there should not be any commercial or retail on the first floor of this residential building. And I'd like to explain to you as to not only our opinion, but some of the opinions of other consultants that have worked for the city and why there does not necessarily have to be commercial on that first floor. The second one is the need for parking. We all know that we need parking, but the question ultimately is, this is a little bit of a different animal. It is an urban environment. It's in the downtown, and I think that it's something new for the city of DeKalb as to how do you handle parking requirements of, call it the fringes, out on the fringes of development versus handling parking requirements that are more in the urban area where we're trying to encourage and where people are really moving to the urban area to do more walking than they are to be driving to each of their destinations. So to help or provide some additional information to you, some of the documents that we referred to that you should have at your hands are the DeKalb City Center Plan, the Downtown Design Guidelines, and then just some general retail demands that we looked at in the general marketplace. And I'll walk you through each of these in more detail, but I thought I'd capture them in summary for you first. The first one is the DeKalb City Center Plan. There's three different points that I pulled out of that document. The first one is the public space map that's within that document. I'll show it to you. Indicates that this area is really not a commercial area and it's more of a assumed to be a residential area. The plan also specifically has a recommendation to the readers of that document, and again, that document was prepared by a consultant for city staff, and it's quote, it says to pursue residential development on this very specific site. The last one is it also makes suggestions that the city should be partnering with for-profit and non-for-profit organizations to bring housing to the downtown. That housing will be a traffic generator for the existing retailers and commercial businesses. The second document is the Downtown Design Guidelines that was actually created again by a consultant specifically just for the downtown area. And that document does indicate that it does not require retail at this location, as staff wants you to believe that it does. It also encourages residential and hotel use on this site, and it encourages parking structures on the first floor. So if you have parking structures on the first floor, it's a little difficult to have retail on that first floor with the parking structures. And then ultimately, it's the demand that we see in the marketplace or the lack of demand. And we are in the commercial and retail business. We're not only a developer, we're a property owner of it, and we're a manager of it. We have been for about 50 years. Our portfolio consists of about 1 million square feet of retail and commercial space. That 1 million square feet is anything from a small 500 square foot dental office to a 55,000 square foot Jewel food store. So we feel that as we are interested in continuing to grow that portfolio, if we had a piece of land that we would want to, we felt we could make a buck at putting commercial retail on it, we would certainly do that. We don't see that the area here warrants or that warrants any additional retail or commercial space. We've provided data in the packet in our first letter that shows that the rental rates are, of the area would not support the construction costs that it would take to build this retail space. And we show that it is actually a declining rental rate within the downtown. And that is really based on the lack of demand and an oversupply of the retail space. So it's our opinion, again, that we should not be providing or proliferating the supply, but allow our residents of our building to start using those existing retail square footages, occupying or visiting those establishments and allowing those retailers and commercial spaces to continue to flourish and fill up any of the vacant space. The last one is these reports also show that housing demand is needed in the downtown, and that retail space is not in the demand. So the first exhibit that I'll share with you came out of the DeKalb City Center Plan. It is the public space map number 4. Again, this is a document not prepared by us, but comes out of one of the documents that's available to you, the Plan Commission, to review when you're looking at planning of the city center. And in the lower left-hand corner, the legend identifies downtown commercial space as pink. And when you look at the area where the arrow is pointing, this site is not identified as pink. So to me, that is suggesting that this is not a commercial area. The next one is Plan number 7, again taken out of the DeKalb City Center Plan. And you can see the location of the site is where that B1 is identified. And if you look at B1 specifically on the plan and the legend again at the lower left, that plan recommends, it says, pursue residential development. And that, again, that plan was not prepared by us. That was prepared by a consultant that was hired, SB Friedman, by the city, and was giving recommendations to the city staff as well as the Plan Commission and City Council. Again, my slides might be a little bit difficult for all of us to read from the dais here, but those documents are all available, or all these documents are available to you as the Plan Commission through city staff. One of the other items pulled out of that report, the DeKalb City Center, highlighted on the far left. I'll just read a couple of those sentences. It reads, "There appear to be few rental housing options for households interested in higher-end rental living with more amenities." That's exactly the market that we are going after. It's our intent to be the most expensive rental housing in DeKalb and provide the highest number of amenities in DeKalb. That next highlighted section goes on to read that competitive market for higher-end rentals, interviews with community stakeholders, local developers, leasing agents, and apartment managers confirm that high-quality rental housing product with high-end amenities is lacking in the marketplace. So it's pretty clear and straightforward to us as to what, even if we believe it, what do the consultants believe that have worked for the city? And it's interesting, they've been pointing at this or suggesting this, and it's been out there for several years, that for whatever reason we haven't picked it up as quick as they did. Also taken out of the DeKalb City Center Plan, as I indicated earlier, this is page 46, where it indicated that the city should be partnering with both profit and nonprofit entities to develop vacant land and support projects with catalytic potential, including downtown housing, including higher-priced rental products. Again, that's what we're proposing to bring forward. The last highlighted section there says development of housing and/or additional traffic-generating uses would further support existing and future downtown businesses and the overall vitality. Again, that's what we're trying to do with this, and not bring more vacant space of retail to the downtown. Looking at the downtown design guidelines, here it's giving you page 5. The opening paragraph under land use and density, it reads, the City of DeKalb's Central Business District is one of the region's retail cores. Consequently, land uses in the downtown should focus on retail and commercial uses. Not saying it's demanded that they be there, but it should focus on them. Especially at the pedestrian level, new downtown construction may also include mixed-use retail, residential, and hotel. So again, that's what we're proposing, which is consistent with that downtown design guidelines. The page 14 of that downtown design guidelines talks a little bit about parking, and as highlighted here and underlined in the middle of the page, the parking area, surface lots, and/or parking structures should be integrated into the design of new development with an emphasis on aesthetics. Parking structures might incorporate first-floor retail. So it's not suggesting that retail has to be there, but that retail might be incorporated into those structures. Again, we're not proposing that we have retail there and don't believe that any of the supporting documents suggest that there should be. The second item, topic that we have a little bit of a debate or discussion with staff on, and as the reports have come to you, I thought I'd try to provide a little bit of clarity as to break the issue down. The first one is parking related to the hotel, and then parking related to the residential units. So I think it's safe to say that the developer and the staff agree on the parking demand for the hotel. There is, I don't believe that there is any issue with that parking demand, which is one space per room plus one per employee, which we're at approximately 128 rooms plus 5 employees is 133 spaces. Where the developer and staff seem to disagree, and perhaps staff is relying upon their ordinance, that is where the debate starts to begin. And it's our belief that the ordinance, when it was drafted, and perhaps with staff's work, they're not as accustomed to working with urban infill development as they might be in working with products on the fringe. And some of those specific differences include one that I don't know of a downtown urban infill residential building that has been built in DeKalb's downtown. Not to pat ourselves on the back, we have that experience. We have been building an urban infill with underground parking and residential units in many different downtowns, and our parking counts and what we see in those communities are clearly different than what your ordinance requires for parking. The parking requirement that staff pulls from the ordinance is 1 per bedroom plus half of a space per unit. So in theory, if you have a 3-bedroom apartment, you're required to have 3.5 spaces. And the second breath, we agree with staff. We're not looking to do this, but the encouragement is that you don't want more than one person to stay in a bedroom. So if we're encouraging or suggesting, the ordinance is that we have 3.5 spaces per 3-bedroom apartment, we're asking that more than one person stay in a 3-bedroom apartment. Perhaps, unless somebody is going to start having college students going to have 2 cars. So that's somewhat contrary or contradicts each other. Also, I don't know that the ordinance takes into account the more urban opinion or urban design or the students of today that are using items such as a zip card, which is the hourly rental of a car, or you rent the car as needed. Probably does not take into account Uber or Lyft services that are more commonly used by young adults nowadays, and even older adults such as myself. The other item that this does not take into account is shared parking. The relationship between typically the hotel is vacant, the hotel parking lot is vacant during the day, so that parking is freed up. So there is somewhat of a relationship of shared parking between the various uses. As the developer, we typically use 1.0 parking spaces per residential unit, understanding that this is a heavy student population here and that there may be more cars required, and actually taking advice from different universities and projects such as this that have been done across the country, we believe that we should be using 1.6 spaces per residential unit. So that's 1.6, whether it's a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, or 3-bedroom, or 4-bedroom. albeit four-bedroom, we have very few units. Using that 1.6 per unit, it ends up at about 299 parking spaces. The most common that the architect that we've hired to draw this plan and to develop the plan for us has extensive experience with building student housing in university towns. He is also recommending, based on his experience, a 1.6 spaces per residential unit. In actuality, what we're proposing on this plan is a 1.7 based on the footprint of the building. So we're a little bit over that, which puts us at 327 spaces. So to try to summarize those numbers for you, the ordinance would require 553 spaces. We're proposing that we be required to have 299 spaces, and the plan, as it's drawn now, actually shows 327 spaces. So what is the actual number of parking spaces is one of those issues that remains out there. So as I opened with, and I will close my presentation with, is ultimately, whether it's these two issues or if there are other issues, the ultimate question is tonight, is the Plan Commission, do they have a palette that is looking for something such as the photographs that you have in front of you to be the DeKalb downtown DeKalb of tomorrow? So with that, I'll open it up for your discussion, or if you have any questions of me, I'd be happy to try to answer them for you.
Thank you for your presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by Derek, how long ago was it when they first brought the first proposal? Was it 2000?
NB&T Square was before the Planning and Zoning Commission in 2008.
Okay. And at that time, the proposed construction did include some retail, did it not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, that's good to know. So just a little bit of history for the commissioners who are here in the public. It's a great proposal. I want to clarify that. I am hesitant with the fact of, is this now the time that we need this? I think we do need I agree with the upscale piece of it, because I actually work at the university and we have people that come in and are looking for possibly some rental or something a little on the higher end, and they just don't want to buy yet because they aren't sure, how long they're going to stay or whatever. With that being said, we're also in an area still at the moment where we lack a lot of public transportation. We have that urban feel and we're trying to get to that urban setting, but we aren't quite there yet. So the parking does concern me a little bit as well, because we still are in an area where there's a lot of vehicles and people rely on their cars. We can't easily get out to Target and out to, the grocery stores at the moment. Hopefully that's a plan that's being worked on and will improve over the next few years. So the parking does concern me a little bit, and I can understand. I also do think that 3 cars for 3 bedrooms is a little much, but we do need to keep in mind where we are currently living and the lack of public transportation in respect to vehicles that would be there. I love the hotel concept, having something more downtown and in this area versus everything that's outside, in case we have visitors that come to the university all the time that don't want to rent a car and are traveling from out of state or out of the country, and having a hotel closer to campus would be great. So the plan has got some very good things. The plan does have some concerns for me. I would like to open it up to the other commissioners for your comments as well, but that's my comments at the moment.
Just,
Yep.
question I have is, and forgive me, perhaps I didn't understand pieces of your presentation, but at the beginning, when you were talking about the apartments, the rental units, you, if I recall correctly, you mentioned that they were going to be high-end, high rental units. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And then as you move toward the end of your presentation, you talked, and especially when related to the parking, you spoke in terms of students, and students using Uber, and students using Zipcar. So are students or high-end, or
Yes,
high-end students?
yes. Yeah, it could be we see a majority of the market would potentially be students, but yet they're most likely are going to be your upperclassmen students or the students that are here on master's or PhD, or young professors that want to live in a younger in the younger environment. So this product, not to hide anything, we believe, and have the studies that we have seen and done across the country, that at universities this is a very popular product, and that students, again, it's not for every student, but it's there is a group at the top of the student spectrum that want something nicer and want to have all of the amenities.
Okay, so if it's a higher-end student, and you put that in quotes,
Sure.
wouldn't they, I mean, don't the demographics of that group normally play out commercially, that they are looking for exactly what you're proposing won't work, and that is the commercial? I mean, they would be conscious about convenience and public transportation, so wouldn't they frequent this, or want to see a Starbucks or a
Sure
small
would.
grocery store or a deli, which would make, I believe, with that target group, it would seem like that would be an ideal fit for what kind of clientele for the apartments you're trying to attract.
Yeah, our concern with, unfortunately, when you build the building, you got to build the first floor first and then put the second or third floor, et cetera, on
Well, I
on top of
understand
it.
that.
And I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but the last thing we would want is that first floor to be a vacant retail space. So yes, we are willing to give up, and we own more land, as you've seen, on the west side of Pearl Street, and perhaps if this project is a success, we look at that project across the street and perhaps incorporate retail on the first floor. But we believe that, yes, we're going to generate those students and those dollars, disposable dollars, that will end up going into the retail and commercial storefronts in the downtown. Our preference is get the existing spaces that are vacant and those existing retailers, get those to fill up. Let's help that community right now, that business community, and don't capture all of our tenants or people living in our building in our own first floor. Let's let them get out onto the street and spend it next door or half a block down or a block down. So we're willing to give that up. And as we believe that, yes, those dollars are going to be spent, and in fact, in many of in the reports, it repeatedly says that those students are going to have those dollars and will spend them. But again, we are concerned that and can't afford to build vacant space. When you see that first floor being vacant, you're going to then recognize or think that the entire building is vacant. And so to us, it would show a bad display of actually what is happening in the building.
But wouldn't, as part of your marketing plan for the whole development, wouldn't that be part of the attraction to a commercial retailer, that you are attracting that price point in a tenant? So normally, I mean, that's how Starbucks makes those decisions, and other,
It's on a bigger, grander scale. Think of it from the planning perspective of which comes first, the rooftops or the commercial. And there always has to be this balance that some rooftops come, some more commercial comes in, some more rooftops come in, and more commercial. Right now, this statistics show and the reports show that the downtown has a surplus of vacant space, and those retailers and vacant space need people to be coming downtown to buy and shop at those locations, and those will fill up, and the rents of those spaces will rise. And as those rents rise, so too will the newer, better, more improved commercial retailers will then come into the market. And then all of a sudden, more empty space buildings will be built with allowing more and more to come in. So yes, we're in that business. I hear you. We'd love nothing more than to say, we're going to stick another layer in this cake, and it's going to be commercial, and we're going to fill it up. Our concern is that we're not. And what about all the, last thing we would want to do is start to pull some of the people that, and the dollars that are currently being spent in the downtown, pulling them to our building. That's not what we want to do. We want to try to support the downtown commercial retail environment and further encourage redevelopment in the area, which would, in essence, continue to make the downtown a better place.
Well, let me ask another question about the parking. I too echo some of the comments that the chairman made. You say you're looking at 187 units
Correct.
in this, right? And how many of them are going to be three-bedroom?
The breakdown is provided in the site plan.
Okay, well, just repeat it to me, please.
Three bedrooms is 20, I'm sorry, approximately 70 units would be three bedrooms.
Okay, so there's a potential, especially if this is student housing, you're going to have people sharing. It's going to happen.
Sharing,
Well, sharing the apartment.
Sharing space.
oh yeah, most definitely.
Okay, so you've got 210 possible residents just with the three bedrooms,
Sure.
correct?
Yes.
So how many two bedrooms then do you have?
We have 38, 48, 53, 50, I'm sorry, 15, 45.
You have 45, so there's 90. There's an additional 90. And then do you have one bedrooms or studios?
Yes, 38.
So 38. So there's 338 then potential residents.
Well, you forgot the limited number of four bedrooms, which is approximately.
Okay, so there's more, four
Yes.
bedrooms then. How many four
19.
bedrooms?
So the number that you're really looking for, I think, is if you want to do the math, is to look at the number of beds. And that number is 459.
Okay, minimum.
459 beds.
Okay.
Now, just because you have 459 beds, doesn't mean that every one of those people in a bed are going to bring a car. And we plan to own and operate the hotel next door. So the last thing we would want is that too many cars are then filling up our hotel parking lot where our hotel night stayers can't.
Exactly.
But if we own both products, and we're not concerned or afraid of that issue.
So are you going to control the amount of
Yes.
cars that people, really? You're going to
Yes.
tell people who can
That's
and who
right.
can't have cars?
That's right.
Really?
You're going to be renting you're going to pay a higher rent, you're going to have better amenities, and if you're bringing a car, you figure out amongst yourselves that are in the apartment that who's going to have a car and who's not going to have a car. And if you want to bring a car, you're going to pay rent to park the car.
Well, that's, okay, I understand that. So you're telling me that if you have a three-bedroom, and hypothetically, three different unrelated people are sharing that apartment, then amongst those three, they will have to decide what? Who has the
They
one
get-
car?
On average, they get 1.6 cars. Right.
1.6 cars.
Yes. And who's ever going to have that 1.6 cars is going to pay for a permit to park it there.
With no
It's a
public
different
transportation.
philosophy or opinion of what you're accustomed to, again, but it's in an urban environment where it is not just statistically what we have found. We find that it's closer to a 1.0 of the people that rent and move into this type of apartment and condo living is closer to 1.0. Understanding that it's students, we have bumped the number to a 1.6 and are actually providing a 1.7.
And I understand your philosophy, but this urban environment, as the chairman said, at this point in time, in the time period that you're looking to go forward with this development doesn't support, in my mind, that, and what I've seen, doesn't support
Well,
that practice.
Yeah, I think when you say support, it's your opinion of what you have seen,
Yeah.
but you have not seen a product such as this.
I have not
believe.
seen the product, no, but I have seen, there is, I think everybody can agree, there is a lack of the type of public transportation or quality of the public transportation to support the scenario you're talking about.
Yeah, and the other piece of that, not to cut you off,
No, that's
sorry.
okay, I'm done.
But the other piece of that with the high-end students that you're potentially looking for would be your doctorate, your law, your master's degree students who, part of their programs are going to have to go out and get internships or work in order to live in these spaces. And in order to do that, they're going to have to go in near the suburbs or the city, even into the city. And if they don't have a car, they can't get to Elburn to the train station or Aurora to the train station because there's no public transportation out here to get there. And there's no train out here. So that's the other piece of it. I would love to see those students come out here. I think we all would. But along those lines with the parking, that in order for them to be able to live here and to get to their jobs and to get to their internships and to get their degree finished, they're going to have a car. And so that's the one piece you just you need to think about.
And I fully agree and understand that it's not what you've seen at NIU or in DeKalb around NIU.
I would love to
But-
see that. Don't get me wrong.
This is not something unique or that we just grabbed a number out of the air.
No,
And this
and-
type of product is being built across the country at small and large universities, and the
Where they
parking-
have better public transportation
Not all of them
systems,
do.
too.
Not all of them do. Some of these products are going into universities that are only 5 to 10,000 students. Those are not going to have great public transportation systems. It's a different philosophy, and knowing that you're going to be moving into this product, you're going to have to think twice about bringing a car. And it also sends a message to the parent. Parent, do you want to pay for a car for that student, or do you want to give them some additional money to have a nicer apartment in lieu of the car?
understand.
And you need goods and services, you're in the heart of the downtown, you can walk to get all of those goods and services. So, but where are you going to live? You're going to live in what I believe will be the best apartment living product in DeKalb. And best meaning highest amenitized, high-end product.
Go ahead.
So let me start by saying, by echoing at least part of what the other commissioners mentioned, which is the fact that anybody in DeKalb, or most people in DeKalb, I believe, will get excited by seeing some proposal for this area. Whether it's going to be this or something else is another question. But it certainly gets one excited, not only actually for this plot, but the other plot we were discussing a moment ago in the previous item. I mean, right now it's a flat land, not very appealing in any form or fashion, and we're very happy that somebody's interested in developing it. So let's see if this is it. I guess I'm going to dwell on two of the topics that we have dwelled already. One of them is the parking, and without going into the nitty-gritty, I look back into other experiences where parking has been addressed and parking has been a problem. Not in every single instance it has been addressed this way, but in some instances it has been the case that we have talked about contingent situations or contingent plots that are reserved for future analysis, where if we provide a variance on a lower number of parking spots, we also reserve some area of the property that will be, again, reserved just in case parking becomes a problem, and this area therefore can be developed for that additional, to provide that additional parking. I think it is true that things are changing. People are using some public transportation. Everybody wants to actually have this image of being the one that bikes to their work, and only very few of us, if any, really achieve that on an ongoing basis. So Having said that, I am fully aware of the fact that geographically, there's not a lot of space around here. And I was wondering, in terms of creating or having a reserve area that may be developed for parking in future times if that were necessary, and I was wondering if either staff or you could comment on that possibility. Do I make myself clear with respect to this area that can be reserved for future use, parking?
We have talked about this internally as staff, that is there a scenario to where we could, much like we did with
University Plaza, yeah.
and we dedicated land that at some point in time, if the threshold is met, then they would be required to install the parking that wasn't compelled for them to install at the time that they redeveloped the property. So the developer indicated that they do own property across Pearl Street. There is other opportunities as long as it's within, I think the code requires that that parking lot needs to be within 300 feet to satisfy those conditions. That's how the current code reads. The staff report also indicates that likely for all the various reasons why we're here tonight discussing it, that if or when this does return, it'll likely accompany a planned unit development request to accommodate that. So it's certainly a possibility to put in there some type of similar threshold that we crafted for University Plaza.
So it is possible. I mean,
Yes.
again, we're not making
Simply
decisions
put, yes.
today, but it is possible. Okay,
I think so.
okay. I don't know if you want to comment on that.
I would agree that, as Derek described, and I pulled this slide up of the plan, that we own land both east and west of Pearl Street. And some of those structures, as I had indicated, are planned for development. So sure, there's an area, call it for reservation, that could be overflowed parking, or in the event, reserved in the event that there is a parking issue, that it could become the parking. We would like to make sure that that, quote, reservation over a course of a number of years, that if it's found that it's not needed, it could be removed from the site, so that potentially these sites west of Pearl Street could then be redeveloped into some product.
Since you've got this picture up, I just have a question. So on the east grouping, the way that it's laid out, can you just kind of give a visual, like, I'm assuming that the residents would be on the west side of that and the hotel would be on the east side, and it would all encompass this red, where the red outline is,
Yeah,
correct?
this slide, identified as the demolition plan, is giving you a different perspective of the entire site.
Okay.
This is giving you more or less east and west of Pearl Street, and just to try to give you a little background as to what is going to be going on out there if you see something happening or you're asked by the public as to what's happening. So there's going to be demolition both east and west of the site. Underneath the legend in the far upper right corner, the legend is somewhat sitting on top of the ice cream former Subway
Okay.
location.
Okay.
So that is not part of the demolition plan. However, as part of the, call it a future demolition plan, when the proposed site gets built, that will come down, and the hotel and residential building will, in essence, fill this red box.
Oh, okay.
So that easterly red line that you saw on the prior slide, again, was west of the Subway.
Right.
Now you see that that red line jumped well east of the Subway ice cream shop. So, and that includes also a few references made to the garage, the long rectangular garage at the bottom.
Yeah.
You can see that that garage also gets taken out as part of the full
Gotcha.
build-out plan.
Thank you. I forgot that you had shown us this slide, sorry. I had that
Sure.
picture in my mind, and I'm like, how are you gonna fit all those buildings in there? Okay. Thank you.
You seem to have done a lot of different studies on supply and demand. Was there any concern with the numbers of, the residential units you have, filling them, and in essence, looking at NIU's student population has been declining over the years, and of course, we hope to
Reverse
see
that.
that increase, but over the years, it's been declining, and so did that ever come into consideration?
It has. However, if you look at, in the past several years, whether it be private or private-public refurbishing, rebuilding, or renovating some of the dormitories that exist at NIU, our understanding and what we've looked at is they're 100% occupied, and there's waiting lists to get into some of those. So to us, what that signals, and was even signaling to the authors of some of these city-prepared reports, is that there are those out there that want something better, and they're willing to pay for that something better. And that is not uncommon at just NIU. That's very common at other universities, including state schools, where private enterprise comes in. And I can tell you that I have visited projects, small and large universities, not just the large big name ones, but I visited one that had a lazy river. Who would have ever thought that one of the amenities would be a lazy river? And the students are paying a premium so that they can sit in an inner tube and float around a swimming pool and read their book. And, or have their friends over and say, look where I live. And they want something better. And it is very common that the parents want their student to live in something better. And that, admittedly, is the group that we want to go after. We're not looking to compete with another traditional student housing apartment project that's in DeKalb. It can't happen. It won't work financially. We need to charge a higher rent, but provide something different. No different than going into whether you want a White Castle burger, you want the McDonald's burger, you want the Hardee's burger, or you want the filet mignon. There's people that'll go to each one of those locations. And we don't believe that there's a product such as this that is in the DeKalb area where that would take those students. So to answer your question, yes, it's a fear. But maybe we could be the catalyst. Maybe we could be the catalyst that says, you know what, we need to reconsider going to NIU because there is a premium product where I would like you to live, little Bobby or Susie.
Okay. So you see it as adding to the variety of housing options for students, and you're at the high end, right?
Exactly.
Okay, all right. Is there a similar facility at an institution or a small town or college town that you guys have done that you can point to? Or?
SIU, U of I. U of I has, they've actually, some of the private units have gone above and beyond where we're indicating 2 hot tubs in this facility, in this common courtyard for all 500-ish beds. They're putting 1 hot tub per 4 bedrooms. And often those are out on a balcony, up above the city or the street level, and people are paying a premium for it.
And the property between the bank and the hotel is not yours. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. So that property that is generally east of or right of that right red line, up to the parking lot of the NB&T parking lot, is not owned by us. That's actually owned by NB&T Bank.
And there's no plan currently for anything right there?
There is no plan. However, being a good partner with them and a good neighbor, we have laid out our parking of our hotel that, if I can jump to the plan here, generally you see that parking bay that is off to the far right, and you almost, where the legend is in the upper right corner, just to the left of that, you kind of see the entry drive aisle split in half. Mm-hmm. That, in essence, could be a shared drive aisle to a parking lot to the right of it. So between us and that property owner, we have laid out a parking strategy that works for both of us, and are willing to share that ingress and egress of that common driveway, that we both get the benefit of it.
has the city, sorry, has the city had people approach yet asking for housing that's of a higher scale? Like, have we had inquiries of interested people? That, my concern is, once, if this were to go forward and everything, gets approved and everybody's fairly happy with it, it gets built, and then nobody moves in, or it doesn't get occupied, or there's that thought. I mean, I'd hate to see something like that happen. I'd hate to see all the work go into it, and, we've all taken the time to make sure that we've done this right and done best for the city, and then we don't get anybody that moves in.
That's part of being in the private industry.
Right,
If
right.
we build a hotel and nobody shows up, you build an ice cream store and nobody comes for ice cream.
Exactly. Like,
That's
you
the
know,
risk and reward as part of being in
It
private.
would be nice to know that people
Sure.
are coming to our city and inquiring, where is your great housing, and, where is the place that I can live that has these amenities, and it would be
Our-
nice to know that, do we
our-
have those inquiries?
Our fear would be is that we're up and under construction, and all of a sudden there's a line of people wanting to come in and propose additional buildings like
That'd be
this.
awesome. That would be awesome. Yeah, that would be great.
Well, in,
It just-
in line with that, I would ask, what has been at U of I or SIU, what has been the impact to the city or the housing market as a result of residential units like this coming in? Have they been able to sustain occupancy? And has that affected any other areas of the city with regards to property owners and housing units?
And has it brought business in?
Has it helped or hurt the economy there?
Yeah.
Can I offer up staff to perhaps they want one municipality talk to another municipality to maybe answer that answer that question for you?
Amen.
I would suspect that if I came back with the answer and it was the answer that everything was wonderful, you'd look at me and say, of course he's going to say that. He's the developer.
That's right, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
No, I want you to say that so I can know, okay.
It'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, you asked about other housing types. Just in talking with the developers of University Plaza, since we just had that recent discussion, if you recall, it converted from the private dormitory or rooming house to apartments that were highly amenitized with the indoor pool. I think they have sun tanning, and they have the workout facility. In talking with the developer there, I think they too are at 100% occupancy.
That's great.
And they didn't anticipate to be at that level, but at this early in the game. But once they were done and had their final occupancy, it was very shortly thereafter that they indicated they were 100% full. So certainly, I think students like to gravitate towards the shiny new
Stuff. yeah.
development, but
And it's not just students that we need to attract. We need to attract the business people in our community as well. We're focusing a lot on the student aspect, but we also need to focus on that business person who wants to be the CEO here of a company, and I have big dreams. But we need to focus on that too, and, and I'm sure they're out there, and I'm sure they've come into our city and wanted to know, where is this stuff? We've hired faculty and staff at Northern wanting to know where is our St. Charles and where is our Geneva, and they don't choose to live here sometimes because they don't have the amenities here, and I think that's something we have to think about too, is can we attract those people to our city? Which has also, I think, been part of the strategic plan conversation that has been had recently too, is getting those people into our city and keeping them in our city and wanting to be part of our city. And I think this is a good start to think about that aspect of it. So.
Good question that you could ask yourself is, if you're a professor coming into the university and you're going to be here a year or two, or maybe you're new to the area from out of state and you want to get a feel for it, where do you live?
right, you don't want to buy anything right away because you just aren't sure
And
how
it-
long you're going to stay.
And there's, in my opinion, there's nothing at that top echelon that would allow the person to live in that higher caliber of quality where they want to live.
Right.
And it
then-
also fosters the idea of living within the community versus getting in your car and driving to Sycamore, driving to St. Charles, driving somewhere else. And yes, I work at NIU, but I don't live in the community.
Yeah, and we have some great businesses, 3M is here, and Nestle is here, and Target Distribution is here, and so we've got that opportunity to build that up in our city and to get more of those people here in our community. I think that's important. Dave, you had something you wanted to say?
I just wanted to go back to another one of the topics that we have addressed, and that is the idea of the commercial on the first floor. And I do believe that just from experiencing other places in the country, I'm a strong believer that residential with nothing at the top provides for a place to live that looks dead or has the potential to look dead. Counter to that, to a place, a place that has nothing on the first floor commercial-wise, looks like a place where people live, because you may know a few people that live there, you may be there a few times to visit friends and God knows if relatives, but the place from the outside may very well look dead because there is not much foot traffic, just people entering their cars to park their car, and that's the end of the story. At the same time, I can think of multiple places not far away from DeKalb where downtowns tend to be much more alive, precisely because you have a combination of the commercial and the residential. And I would be seriously concerned if we were to go with a design that has no commercial on the first floor. You can parade PhDs in front of me with consultants and stuff like that, and don't get me wrong, I do appreciate the work of consultants. I take it very seriously. I do take it into consideration, but I'm seriously concerned about this point. Looking forward, probably not today because our agenda doesn't necessarily provide for that, but I'm actually looking forward to hearing more opinions on this particular topic about having a big building there that does not have any commercial, and then all of a sudden we have something that addresses part of the problem. I mean, the area doesn't necessarily look very nice right now, and that's an understatement, of course. Addresses part of the problem, but not the overall goal of seeing a little bit more of that first floor commercial that may bring in more traffic. I do understand your point about what comes first, and we have absolutely no intention, by developing something like this, we have no intention of taking business from the existing downtown area. But I would like to see more conversation about this. I would like to see more citizenship input on that particular topic. Another question that I have, and this may very well not be part of the discussion today, is there any historical nature to the properties that are going to be developed? The historic district doesn't make it all the way down south of Lincoln Highway, is that correct?
No, there's not a historical overlay district for this.
So, whatever, I realize that information or the direct answer to that question right now is not here. But I will be very interested in learning more about the historical nature about this area, and what is available to us, and so on and so forth.
I know you're not taking public comment this evening, but when the project hit the papers and hit the website of the city, I received a couple emails, and one specifically was from a business owner who I have not done business with, and property owner here within the downtown DeKalb area. And they had indicated that they were either going to write a letter or speak, that it is correct that there's no more need for commercial retail space in the downtown at this point. So I know you're looking, you had made the comment that you'd like to get some public testimony on that. I share that one with you, and I don't know if that person is here this evening, or, but not asking them to speak, because I know you're not taking public comment.
Derek, I have a question about if this property does get developed, if and when. Is there any concerns, given that this property is so close to the railroad tracks, and I know just south of there was an oil company or something at one point, is there any concerns about developing below the ground on this property, like having the parking and underground that may come into consideration at some point? Because, and the reason why I'm asking is because we've been talking about the parking aspect of it.
I may turn that question to the developer, but I can speak to the contaminated site south of the tracks that was the oil site. I looked through the EPA active lists in my recollection, and I couldn't find any listing of it currently. I think they received a no further remediation letter south of that tracks. But I believe before any construction or development, at some point in time, the developer would want to test the soils and see what actually is subgrade to see if it's buildable or not. But maybe Dave has more to share.
Yeah, the part of our due diligence when we acquire the property is to do what we refer to as a Phase 1 environmental. And that Phase 1 will sometimes be kicked to a Phase 2. And we did conduct those environmentals, and the extent of any contamination was asbestos-containing materials that were on some of the homes. And that asbestos, about, I think it was 3-4 weeks ago, was all removed, and proper notifications to the IEPA that the material is being removed by a licensed contractor, inspected by another different independent licensed inspector. So all of that environmental has been taken care of. We were aware, or are aware of, the site south of the tracks that had environmental issues, and we are not concerned that that could contaminate our site. Not only that oil site, but knowing that you're next door or across from a gas station is another concern. And so another reason why you certainly would take a look at a Phase 1 or Phase 2 to see whether there's contamination from that property. So we don't have any concern of contamination underground. As far as building up along the railroad track embankment, we have done property in both Geneva and Aurora, downtown Aurora, that immediately are abutting the railroad track. And the biggest concern that we would have with building against the railroad track is not the vibration for the structure, but is more the noise. And if you look at our plan, and a little bit tough to see on this screen, you'll see that down parallel to the tracks, there's really, the units are kind of rotated or turned where there's a limited number of windows on that side facing the tracks. Again, it's not because the windows are going to vibrate and break. It has more to do with trying to minimize or reduce the amount of noise. Now, we do have tenants that live in our downtown Geneva rental community, and that is on the same train line as this train line, other than it may have or will have additional trains because it has the Metro commuter train coming through versus you don't have a commuter train. So we have several residents in that building that actually have purposely taken the further south unit, and in the summertime they like to have their windows open. They like to hear the train. They believe that the train means business, means commerce. Such as many people that live in the downtown Chicago or inner city, they like to live in the hospital district because they like hearing the sirens. And people that open their windows, they get the street noise. So there are different environments for different people. Some people go way out to the country and live and don't want to see anybody or hear anybody, and other people want to hear that activity and hear what is going on. So we don't have any concern about vibration and building of the building under subgrade or for the parking. More so, we're concerned about the noise of the train.
So, kind of along with that, where would, obviously, given this type of a development, there really isn't retention pond, or where would runoff flow towards? Given that that does go down into like a valley, if you want to
Yeah,
call it.
we will have to meet stormwater requirements or ask for a variance. Keep in mind that the number of residential units there, as well as parking driveways and parking lot, that surface was
Minimized.
impervious to the water, and the water was running. So then there's a calculation between what was pervious surface, green, where the water could infiltrate, versus what we would offer, and that is more or less the offset that we have to account for. Could that be done in underground storage? Sure. Typically, that's done in urban environments where it's a series of manifolded pipes together that store the stormwater, in essence, a buried detention, retention facility.
So then with snow removal, given where we live, the fortunate piece, I guess, is that you live close to the tracks and you could hopefully push as much of it over towards the tracks, but snow removal would take up some of your parking places potentially, or would
Some
you
of
have
the,
a?
potentially could take up some of the parking spaces. Typically, that is on a very short-term basis.
Right.
In our more urban downtown Geneva, downtown St. Charles projects, as part of our snow removal maintenance program, the immediate need is push the snow into storage locations.
And
Secondary, the snow gets hauled off.
Okay, okay. You good? Okay. I think that concludes our questions for you
Okay.
tonight. Derek, since this is a new process for me, can you guide me a little? What we do? What happens?
Sure. So
Close?
we just conducted a work session with the developer, provided feedback on the plans proposed and on the policies. I've taken notes, and I believe share the notes with the developer as well after this. And what would happen next is this item then would move forward onto the city council for a similar type of discussion. I think tentatively we have the circled date of January 25th. I think that's the,
It's a Monday
does
after.
that sound right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
last-
For council discussion.
And will that be a similar workshop type, or is that more a public hearing?
We don't have any public hearings
Okay.
at this point in time.
Because nothing's been.
It's just a
Right.
conceptual plan at this stage. I anticipate forthcoming will be a more detailed package that goes to the city council. Based upon with the feedback tonight, I assume at least some tweaks to the plans might occur based upon hearing what feedback has been given. And in all likelihood, then the full package going to council at this point in time, I expect will likely include incentives, is my guess, or a request from the developer going forward. But we need that time to put together the information to bring to the city council.
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation. And I want to thank the citizens that came tonight and maybe listening at home to see the presentation and to deal with our questions and our comments, and appreciate it very much. Future considerations?
So our next regularly scheduled meeting, December 30th, we do not have any agenda items for. So with that, want to wish you all a happy holidays. Beyond that, we will be having a meeting the first of the year with the items that we continue tonight, and perhaps a few more that we'll get into the paper here with legal notices for the January meetings.
So right now, it looks like we have a January 13th and a January 27th.
That's
That
right.
would be on
Based
the
upon
schedule?
your directions tonight, yes.
Okay. Before I exercise a motion for adjournment, I also would like to say happy holidays and Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa to everybody, and a Happy New Year. Next time we see each other will be in January. Have a safe couple of weeks, And thank you very much for being here and for doing what you guys do.
Thank you.
So I will take a motion for adjournment by someone.
So moved.
So moved by
Second.
Mr. Wright, second by Ms. Neer. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We're adjourned. Thank you.